Hello, and welcome to another edition of Selling Life Annuities. I'm Tim Luby. I'm the National Sales Director of Annuities here at Hague Rd Marketing. And with me today is Steve Allison, our Retirement Income Specialist. And our topic for today is the retirement client fact-finding and assessment process. So Steve, we're talking about the assessment, the fact-finding process that we need agents to go through so we can effectively do their case design. So what do we need to learn to determine, I guess, first, if an annuity is appropriate, and then secondly, if it is, what kind of an annuity? Is that what we're after?
Definitely. I mean, you have to be able to make sure that, what they currently have and maybe what a goal is maybe in the future, if an annuity even fits that or meets their objectives. Trying to figure out if you can help them out and find a solution for maybe a need that they want that maybe they're not getting met currently. So there's a whole lot of different questions and conversations that an agent needs to have with their client in order to find out what's the best solution.
Right. And it kind of dabbles a little bit on suitability, but this is a little bit different because this is more like the case design and the fact finding that we have to do. And the ideal thing is that for an agent that is hoping to sell more annuities, that they do some of this fact finding and assessment process initially up front, versus coming to us and saying, I got a client or I've got a guy or I've got a gal and this is what they've got. And then we kind of help them understand what questions they need to go back and ask. Whereas some of these questions are kind of fundamental, and most agents would want to ask these questions and gather a bunch of this information up front before they come to us initially with the stuff.
I mean, I was gonna say it really is important, right? Because if they don't ask all the questions or they leave off maybe a couple, maybe what we deem obvious questions to ask, it can kind of hurt the credibility of the agent with the client in their mind. So it could hurt them in the potential of making a sale and helping the client out. So
Right.
yeah, I mean there's a lot of questions we're and going over some of these would be really helpful.
Yeah, some of the obvious questions that might be out there, So we think about what questions they are. I guess one of the first things, if we're talking about, an annuity, a retirement client, annuity is designed to build up and distribute retirement income. So it would be important to know how old that client is, right? So how old are they, which a lot of times, might be a rude question depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's an important question that we have to ask.
Yeah.
So we want to know how old they are and why, because we want to know how close they are to retirement.
Yep.
How close are they with to be turning retirement income on? And that's not just an age question, but that has something to do with it. If they're in their 40s, it's likely that they're not going to be turning their income on in 5 years. On the other hand, if they're 68, it's unlikely that they'll be waiting 20 years to start drawing income from their retirement. So, but there are all lots of different things that factor into that. So the age is important. I guess the other thing is, are they married?
Yeah.
Is a really important question. And we often laugh if they're married. Okay, do they like them? And that's kind of kiddingly we're saying that, but there are different marriages. Sometimes it's a second marriage for people,
Yeah.
and maybe he had kids and she had kids, and they put the family together. But maybe their understanding or agreement is that he's going to take care of his and she's going to take care of hers.
Right.
And so they may or may not be doing joint income when they go to look at their retirement assets.
That's right.
So it's an important question. But if they are married, we'd also want to know how old she is. Because if we're going to do a joint income, it depends on the younger of the two of them.
Yeah.
So if she's 10 or 15 years younger than he, that can throw a wrinkle in things as well. So, their ages and their objectives for that money are very important. We say objectives in terms of like, when do they want to turn the retirement income on? But the objectives are important. We want to hone in on what their goals and dreams for that money are, what they are today, and if they've changed.
Yeah, sure.
So that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I think, piggybacking on some of this stuff is another questions that come to mind also is like, around their ages is what kind of money do they have? And when I think about that, depending on their age, if they have any qualified money, they may not want any extra income, but they may be forced to by required minimum distributions or RMDs, and that age keeps changing and keeps getting later. But again, that's another realistic concern that they have to plan for in retirement.
It kind of dabbles in the suitability realm again, but also, we might be talking about the asset they're considering changing perhaps to an annuity solution, but we also need to know what else they have, because if they already have Social Security and a pension plan and already have their income needs like more than met, then income might not be the objective for this, whereas for somebody else that maybe hasn't saved enough or doesn't have other incomes already in line, they may need to sort of squeeze every penny of retirement income out of what they have. Whereas another client might have a similar situation, but really not need the income and only take income that they have to take, no more than they have to take.
Yeah.
So, there's differences in that, which kind of reminds me, because one of the questions often is where is the money now?
Yeah. All right. Need to know if it's in an annuity currently, if it's just in the savings account. Is it in a 401k right now? Is it being managed by a broker or
Is
something?
it subject to market risk?
Market risk. Exactly. So, those are all things that you need to ask for. And Tim mentioned, do they have Social Security checks? Social Security, will they be getting pensions? Those are things you do need to ask and not just assume. So that makes the picture that much more clear for everybody when it comes to, come up with a solution for them.
Right.
Mhm.
And when they come to us with, what they've got a guy, and what we're ultimately trying to determine is, what do they want to do with that money? What money do they have, and what do they want to do with it? What are their objectives for that? And so, there are some other things that come up, but there's other additional information you might need to be able to make that determination. Like we asked about whether they're married, whether they're happy, kiddingly, but how they would interact, whether joint income would be the situation. But you might also want to know if they have kids. And again, kiddingly, do they like them? Do they want to take care of those children, or are they adult children that are fine on their own?
Mhm.
Do they have a charity? Do they have something else that they like to leave money
Yeah.
to? And all these things are moving towards, what are their objectives? What are their dreams for that money? They may not need the income. And if that's the case, then maybe they can have the luxury, if you will, of being able to provide for some living benefits, like addressing long-term care.
Yep. He's just about to play that.
Yeah, that's right. And again, if they're thinking about addressing long-term care, or even thinking about life insurance, like a legacy need to leave something to a child or children or a charity, whatever it may be, then their health becomes important. You want to know if they're insurable. So
Yeah.
there's a handful of questions that you might ask there. But we've been talking about this for a while. We're probably kind of winding down on time, but closing in on those fundamental things: their age, their happiness, their desires for that money, their objectives, in general, are the key things that they want to gather upfront if they can, so that we can put our best foot forward as it comes to case design. We do have some forms for that as well. So if you contact me or Steve when we're done here,
Yeah.
we can certainly get you some assessment forms and fact finders for you to use,
Yeah.
a crutch, if you will, to make sure that you cover many of the questions that we've talked about here today. But with that, we're kind of running out of time. So if you would please take a moment and subscribe, and hit the notification bell down below, so that you'll be notified every time we come out with a new episode of Selling Life and Annuities. And with that, if you would like, comment, and share, we'd appreciate that very much. And thanks for your time and attention today, and happy selling.